Hey beautiful people of the internet, my name is Ryan and today is going to be a much more relaxed video. You remember about a month ago when I told you guys that I would be reading certain books, half of the books that you recommended and half of the books that I chose this summer in a certain order? I wanted to update you guys on that. So yeah, today, Sunday, will be a relaxed video, and then tomorrow, Monday, I'm working very hard on a video for tomorrow that I'm really excited about. It's not a book review, but it is... well, you'll see it. So, I want to say something really quickly which will explain why this video is not instead two separate book reviews plus an announcement. I realized about a week ago when I filmed 2 book reviews in one weekend that usually when I do a book review, because I really want to do a good job on those book reviews and I want them to be something that I'll be proud of for 2 years or more, like 10 years, I want to look back and see this video that I'm proud of. Because of that, I write scripts and I do a lot of research, and then I edit them heavily, or I edit them together, not heavily, but I edit them together. And I realized, what I learned is that about minimum I spend 8 to 10 hours on those videos. A lot of times I spend a lot more. So there are certain videos on the channel that I've spent probably 15 hours on. Maybe even more than that, I don't really know. And that, not to be super obvious, is a massive amount of hours. I made a video around 2 or 3 months ago called Books I Won't Review. Today, I'm going to be talking about the books Libra by DeLillo and Americana by Chimamanda, Ngozi, Adichie. I just jacked that name up so much, and I'm sorry for that, and I'm probably going to continue jacking it up throughout this video. But I made that video that said books I won't review. I'm not going to be reviewing these books that I'm about to talk about. This is just going to be kind of a relaxed conversation. The reason for that is not that I didn't love these books. I liked both of them a lot. But in that video, I talked about when I do a review, it has to meet a certain number of criteria just to be worth the crazy amount of work, honestly, that I'm going to put in. And I want, so that I deliver good content at the end of all of those hours. I don't want to make a book review that's just kind of lackadaisical or doesn't get to something really important. So basically, that's my way of saying, before I get to talking about these 2 books, that if you're wondering why I didn't review them, you could go watch that video. Okay, let's do it. At the beginning of the summer, I had 10 books laid out that I was going to try and read this summer. 5 of them were voted upon by you, 5 of them were chosen by me. One of the books that I chose because I loved white noise and I was eventually going to be reading Underworld was Libra by DeLillo, actually at the request of one of you guys who said that I should read a different book, either Libra or Mao 2, I think, was the other suggestion, between White Noise and Underworld in order to kind of get more in the style of DeLillo. So this book, as you can maybe see by the cover, is about Lee Harvey Oswald and the JFK assassination. That's the vehicle that he was riding in. So I'm not going to talk about this for very long because I really do not have the words to talk about it. But this book is terribly interesting. This is unlike any other book that I've ever read before. I was talking to somebody the other day, though, about this book, and you'll see what I mean in a second when I talk about Americana, because the comparison between these 2 books is nuts. It's like, it's not just comparing apples and oranges, it is comparing apples grown on Earth to another non-carbon-based life form in a different corner of the universe. So anyways, this book takes one of the most defining moments in American history, especially of the last 100 years, and a moment that because of the media has been just burned into our brains. I mean, we have just the film sequence alone of the JFK assassination has been burned into our brains, I would say. But so anyways, this book takes that historical event and fictionalizes it, but not in a way that any historical fiction I've ever read has done. So when I was talking to a friend about this, the conclusion that I basically came to is that in this book, DeLillo does this thing, which both makes this book harder to read and also unlike anything else I've ever read, which is that there are so many ways for you to already connect to the material in here. Like you grow up, especially as an American, you grow up having heard so much about this story. There are so many ways for DeLillo to meet you halfway because you already know so much. And he doesn't do any of that. This book is not, it does not cater to the reader in any way. It's a little bit difficult to get into, actually. And because it just doesn't reward you in the ways you would think you would be rewarded reading about a JFK assassination book. Like, it's not about what the truth of the assassination is, despite us, still not knowing. It's not about trying to say, one specific way that it happened. So to end my rant on this, I think my basic feeling towards this book was that I knew the entire time that I was reading something just like phenomenal and off in its own little bubble. Like this thing is wholly its own. It's not speaking to other genres. It's not speaking to other books. The only thing it is speaking to is this set of historical events. Basically, what I felt was that in this book, DeLillo does this thing, which I think is both admirable and also like the pitfall of higher literature or high lit or high art. He gives very little consideration to the reader's interests and to genre considerations. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. In that way, like his short stories that I've read and also like White Noise, you're going to be working pretty hard to read this book and to put it together, but I enjoyed the crap out of it along the way, so. Alrighty, so after I read Libra, I then switched gears heavily to read Americana by Adichie. So this book was a really fun read, especially after hitting my head against the wall a little bit with DeLillo, where you're just doing so much work as a reader to juggle so many things in your head and to put things together and make connections. This book is very different, and I'm not saying that in a way that makes it worse. I think they're legitimately just different approaches to art and different approaches to, considering the reader. DeLillo doesn't consider the reader much in Libra, and this book is very considerate to the reader. The main characters are Efemelu and Obins. I'm mispronouncing those names. I know that I am. So just bear with me there. But the main characters, Efemelu is a blogger who blogs about race in America quite a bit from the perspective of a non-American black, and in just this like super insightful and smart and funny, but also like true with a capital T way. And Obins is her romantic interest, who for a lot of different reasons is kind of set apart from America and can't get there, though he maybe wants to. And this story is like the long-term arc of their relationship as they like, find each other and deal with each other, and then also find and deal with their dreams of leaving Nigeria and or coming back to Nigeria. It's a really recent book. I think it was written in 2013, and for that reason, some of my favorite sections in here actually are about President Obama and Michelle Obama, our First Lady. And especially in our current time period, for that reason, this book is totally worth it. So I learned more during this book than I have learned in 22 years of seeing and consuming media and or like advertisements that are produced by hair companies in America. And that should tell you something. So anyways, to kind of wrap up, I really liked this book, and I'm definitely going to be reading more Adichie. I cannot believe that I'm 23 years old and that she's had a number of good books, like Half of a Yellow Sun, people have been talking to me about. And I think also Purple Hibiscus is maybe the name of the other one. I'm going to be reading a lot more of her. On the other hand, it was a little bit of a surreal experience to finish Libra in the morning and then start Americana in the evening and I don't think there is a right answer to this, or a better answer, but these books just take very different approaches to how they consider the reader and how much they're going to give the reader or ask of the reader in return. Anyways, I have talked for maybe too long about that, so I'm going to move on. To currently update you on what I'm reading, I am about 344 pages into A Little Life, and reading it pretty quickly, reading a good amount of pages per day. After this, I'm going to move on to Gravity's Rainbow. Dear God, be with me. Speaking of which, there is a brand new reading schedule down in the description. I have had to change some things because I was a little bit behind, so I've just adjusted dates one way or the other. I should have actually almost finished Gravity's Rainbow by now, according to the original schedule. But I've now updated the schedule. I've got just a few more days to finish A Little Life. Then I'm going to try and read Gravity's Rainbow as quickly as I can and try not to cry. And then I'll be rereading through some other books. So you can take a look down there if you want to read along with me at all. I'm also going to be posting that on my Twitter and then kind of updating you guys like every 2 or so days about where I'm standing in relation to that. Speaking of my Twitter, you should also go to there if you have any interest at all in hanging out with me on Wednesday evenings on Reddit. I'll be posting on Twitter with like updates every week, I think, because this last Wednesday we hung out on Reddit for like an hour and 15 minutes and just kind of did a thing where we hung out. You guys asked questions, I asked some questions, we just kind of talked. We talked a little bit about some of the books that I had reviewed. We also just kind of did a like AMA kind of format, which I absolutely loved. It was so cool. It was like me hanging out with like 15 of you guys. It felt like I was having conversations, like not person to person, but like in a small group, which I was all about. So we're gonna keep doing those. We are, at least for now, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. California time. That's PST, Pacific Standard Time. We're gonna hang out on Reddit. I've got a subreddit there that Elizabeth helped me set up. I will also link her channel down in the description. Also down in the description, I will put the subreddit link where we hang out Wednesday nights at 7. This Wednesday, we're gonna do another AMA style thing where we're just gonna hang out for an hour and a half and talk about whatever. But if you have other topics for what we should talk about, you should, leave them down there, because I'm so open to suggestions. Alrighty, that is all that I got. I just wanted to update you guys today on where I am in this like reading schedule that we set up, and this like reading with me kind of thing. If you're interested in picking up any of those books and reading alongside me, I would love to talk to you guys about it. Seriously. So, alright, I will see you tomorrow, the video I'm very excited about. Best wishes! You know that saying, fake it until you make it? My version of that, except for reading your first pension novel and then making a book review about it, is realize that you know nothing, panic, do 10 hours worth of reading on the subject, panic, delay, and then make it. This book is eliciting strong feelings for me. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Okay, I'll say one more thing. This cover is also eliciting very strong feelings for me. More on this later.